76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Is that you? I'm the CEO of 5 different companies. I wasn't born into it. We lived on welfare, but I wanted more. I created this show, The School of Wealth, helping people escape poverty like I did. I want to help you out of that consumer debt, teach you how to increase your credit score, teach you how to make more money at your current job or your current business, and then how to actually create generational wealth without changing your lifestyle. It is going to be a lot of fun. This is not like regular school. Hey, I'm Rondi Lambeth, and this is the School of Wealth. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and share the first screen. We'll get that going so you guys see it. There we go. And let me know if you can see that okay, Nicole. Just want to make sure since it's on your side. You see that okay, Nicole? I think you muted yourself. So, but the reason that I got into financial services and credit repair was at the time I was a firefighter. And on a call, I got home, and when I go to the fire station, I would shut off my phone. And I remember the first time I was on my very first night as a firefighter, I remember the captain pulling me aside and saying, "You need to stop calling your kids and your wife at the end of the day, because if you don't call them, they're going to think something happened. So you need to just leave your phone turned off the entire time." And so one morning I got off shift. There were 24-hour shifts. I turned my phone on, and I had dozens of phone calls from my mom. And basically it said, your brother, who was also a firefighter, his name was Zeke, was in an accident. So I call her thinking he was in a firefighting accident or something. This is pretty popular. I mean, pretty common. I was in the ER every single year as a firefighter. Come to find out, the accident was he shot and killed himself. And he shot and killed himself over a little bit of credit card debt, a little bit of collections, girlfriend dumping him because, he didn't have any money. And it crushed me because here I am, firefighter of the year. I think I'm Superman. I was on the busiest rescue, the busiest engine in Denver metro area, saving a dozen lives a day. And I'm not even there for my little brother. So I went into a pretty dark space for a little while. And I realized that there's about 5,000 people a year kill themselves over credit issues. So I started digging into it and found that the banks and the credit bureaus really abuse the law, and there wasn't a good solution to help people. So I went into it educating people, and then people started offering me money. So I started charging, and now we're an 8-figure a year business just by helping people. And so that's how I got started in this. But I want to give you some history about the credit bureaus. There's 3 of them right now that you probably know of. There is TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Now there's dozens more that you don't know about. And they've been around, these 3 have been around since the early 1900s. Experian bought out a company that actually launched the very first spy satellite into outer space. And so when I say the bureaus can track everything you do, they know what toothpaste you use, how much toothpaste, what brand of cereal, every single thing you do, they track it and they know it on you. And that's their business, is tracking information and selling it. And Experian, the satellite company, was TRW. And so these are the 3 big ones that you know of: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And like I said, they started out in the early 1900s. And what they would do is, if you went in, Nicole, or anybody here, and you wanted to get a loan for a car or a house, they would hire a private investigator. The private investigator would go around town and ask people, "Hey, what do you know about Nicole? Is she a good person? Does she pay her bills?" And they gather that information, go back to the bank and say yes or no. And this is how they gather information. They were private detectives. And then around the 70s, 80s, and 90s, when you'd move into a neighborhood, they would come in and they would be the welcome wagon committee. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this. I remember one of the first houses I bought in Colorado. we moved in and we got a note, please call. And they brought us a basket of fruit and all this stuff. And my wife was so happy at the time. I was like, this is weird. These 3 people come in, they're asking us all kind of questions. Where do you work? How much do you make? What kind of hobbies? Like, and they were so good at having conversation. We thought they were neighbors. And then we never saw them again. Well, fast forward to 20 years, I figured out who it was. It was the credit bureaus. They would send out welcome wagon committees to ask you questions, to gather information so they could put it in their database. And this is how they gather information. They used to. Now, super easy. When you go to Safeway or Albertsons and you scan that your little card, or you put your number in to save a few dollars, that information is sent to the credit bureaus. They're selling that information. That's why they can afford to give you a discount on that, on gas or food or whatever it is, because they're selling your information to the credit bureaus, and they then capture it, package it, and sell it to other marketing companies. And so they track everything you do. Fast forward, 1956, 2 guys got together. One's Bill Fair, one's Earl Isaac. One's a mathematician, the other one's an engineer. And they created an algorithm that literally predicts the future. And the company they created is the Fair Isaac Company for Bill Fair and Earl Isaac. And they created this credit score, and they just made it up out of thin air, 300 to 850. And you've probably all heard of the 300 to 850. FICO's created literally hundreds of billions of scores. It's trusted by over 90% of the banks, and they are extremely accurate at predicting the future on whether or not you will pay your bills on time over the next 2 years. All right. I bet none of you on here knows what a 300 to an 850 really means to the bank, unless you've seen me present somewhere else. I'm certified by FICO, so I'm what's called a FICO Certified Credit Professional, or FICO Certified Credit Pro. They stopped doing this over a decade ago. I've been doing this 13 years. So around 2007, 2008, I got trained by FICO on how the algorithm works. And I can pull back the curtain. I know how to create my own scores. I know how to create scorecards. And I work sometimes as a court-approved credit expert witness when someone sues a bank. So I go in and I explain really what happened with the credit score. So make sure, if you have a pen, you need to write this down. 300 to 850. 300 to 850. Now, write a period between the 2 zeros on 300. And write a period between the 5 and the 0 there. So it should look like that. 30% to 85%. Everybody got that? 30 to 85%. This is what this means. If you have a 300 credit score, there is a 30% chance you will pay your bills on time over the next 2 years. 30% chance. If you have an 850 credit score, there's an 85% chance you'll pay your bills on time over the next 2 years. And anything in between. That's what these numbers mean. 30 to 85% chance of you paying your bills. That's all it is. So when you go and apply for a loan and they say yes or they say no, that's what they're looking at, is what is the likelihood of this person paying us? Now, there are lenders out there that if you have an 800 credit score, they don't want to give you a credit card. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I spent 3 days with the president of one of the largest subprime banks in America, over 30 million customers. And him and I were talking in the pool. At the time, I wasn't doing 75 hard, so there might have been a few drinks involved. And we were just talking about his clients. And he's like, yeah, we know for every one client that comes on, one won't pay. And so our interest rates show that. And they know if they issue 2 credit cards, one's not going to pay. So they charge 30 to 40%. They charge fees up front, they charge fees in the middle, and they charge fees at the end, right? Because that's their model. But you got to have credit cards in order to have great credit. So that's the number, 300 to 850, 30 to 85% chance, right? So FICO come along in 1956, they started creating these credit scores. And as technology developed, we started getting some laws to protect us. But I want to show you how the FICO score is actually calculated before I get into the laws. So the first is 35% of your credit score is based on your payment history. Now, if you go and hire someone like, say, Lexington Law, which is the largest credit repair company in America, they're going to work on the 35%. And every other company out there that I know of, and I know almost all of them, none of them work on the other 65%. And what we do at Fortress is we not only do we fix the payment history, but we teach you how the other 65% works, because it's more important than the payment history. But 35% of your credit score is based on payment history. And then 30% is based on how much you owe. But here's the kicker. 90% of your credit score that's based on amounts owed is how you use your credit cards, how much you actually owe on a credit card, not how much money you owe on a mortgage or a car. So for example, if you got $1,000 credit card and you owe $1,000, it will destroy your credit score. If you got $1 million house and you owe $1 million, FICO doesn't care. They literally do not care how much you owe on a mortgage or a car loan or student loan or boat loan or an airplane loan or motorcycle loan. They care how much you owe on credit cards, which is why credit cards are so important to have. And if you listen to Uncle Dave, anything Uncle Dave says about credit, just do the opposite. Don't close your cards. If you close your credit cards, it's going to destroy your credit score. 10% is types of credit. There's 5 things you need on a credit report in order to have great credit. You need to have 3 credit cards, you need to have a mortgage, and an installment loan. So as long as you have those 5 accounts on your credit, 3 credit cards, a mortgage, and a car loan, you can have great credit. This morning, I had someone reach out to me on Instagram, and he said, look, I just paid off my mortgage, and my credit score went down 11 points. I'm like, yep, because you paid off the mortgage and now it's closed. 10% of your credit score. So you need to have those 5 accounts. 15% of your credit score is how big is that credit report? How long has it been reported? Think of it this way. If you had a new car, let's say you had a Ferrari, and you got a 16-year-old kid, are you going to give him the keys to your Ferrari when he's 16 years old just learning how to drive? No. Why not? Because he doesn't have the history. FICO looks at it the same way. They want to see a big payment history. And then they will give you the keys to the Ferrari or the keys to the American Express Platinum card. Okay? The longer it goes, the higher your score goes, which is why you never, ever close a credit card. You never close a credit card. Write that down. Never close a credit card. It will destroy your credit score. So if you listen to Uncle Dave, just ignore him. Never close the credit card. If you can't trust yourself and you are what I call a creditaholic and you need to get away from the credit, cut the credit cards up, put your bills on them, and stop using them. Unfortunately, I see so many people that finance Taco Bell for 22 years. That Burrito Supreme is not that good that you got to finance it for 22 years. But a lot of people do that. They will use the credit card and they don't pay it off in full, and they pay the minimum payment for the next 10 to 15 years. And they're financing Taco Bell at 20% interest. Last is new credit, otherwise known as an inquiry or a new account. Now, here's a number for you. Write this down. 90% of all late payments will happen within the first 2 years of that account being open. 90%. So do you see why your scores drop when you open new credit, get a new car? It's not the inquiries. Everybody thinks it's the freaking inquiries. It's not the inquiries. It's the fact that you might have opened a new account and FICO doesn't know yet, which is why after 3 months, the inquiries don't matter. 90% of all late payments happen in the first 2 years. FICO's trying to figure out the likelihood of you paying your bills over the next 2 years. You get some inquiries, you apply for new credit, score tanks. Okay. Remember that number, 10%. 10%. All right, so your FICO credit score, like I said, is 300 to 850. If new credit is 10% of your credit, so 10% is new credit, how many points will you lose if you have inquiries or new credit? Put it in the chat box. I want to see it. I want to see you guys engage with this. How many points will you lose based at 10% for new credit? Let's see what you guys say. Let's see if I can open that up. How many points? 10%. Somebody says 10. Let's see here. 10, 23, 10, 100, 10. Not sure where you guys are getting all these numbers, but that is okay. 10%. This is where people screw up. Oops. There's only 550 points available. You don't have 85 points because 850 is the top, 300 is the bottom, 550 is the number. So if 35% of your credit score is based on payment history, it's about 170 something points. 10% is based on new credit, that's 55 points. 10% is based on types of credit, that's 55 points. 15% is based on length of history. I don't know, that's like 80 points. All right, so it's the percentage times the 550 if you're in the 300 to 850 scorecard. Now, when you go online, you see different scores. You're like, why are my scores different? Why does Credit Karma say this? Credit Check Total says that. Rondi's website, Credit Mojo, says this. My mortgage banker says that. The car loan says this. My credit card company says this. Why do your scores vary? Because FICO has 4,000 different scorecards. They have a scorecard for folks that have filed bankruptcy, scorecards with late payments, scorecards with people maxed out credit cards, scorecards with new loans, scorecards for new credit, old credit, middle credit, scorecards based on all kind of different things. Think of it this way. If we set up a bunch of scales and I got on a scale, I'd weigh about 225 pounds on this scale, 228 pounds on this scale, 230 pounds on this scale, and who knows on that scale. Did my weight vary that much from scale to scale to scale? No. What varied? The calibration, or in your score, the scorecard, or the model. See, I'm talking about FICO right now, but there's TransRisk score, there's IntelliScore, there's a Paydex score, there's a Vantage score, and it just goes down the list. And then you have scorecards. So when I say your credit score is 300 to 850, that's one scorecard. If you file bankruptcy in the last 2 years, you're in a different scorecard. There's nothing you can possibly do to get to 850. Nothing. Because you're in a bankruptcy scorecard. You get slammed for filing bankruptcy. So now the highest you will ever have is, let's say, a 720. You do everything perfect. No late payments, no collections, no maxed out credit cards. But because you have that bankruptcy, the highest you can have is a 720 because that's the scorecard you're in. And so what we do at our companies, we'll look to see what scorecard you're in and try to get you out of that scorecard, which is why most of our clients will see a 50 to 150 point increase in 3 months. So in 1970, after thousands and thousands and thousands of complaints by consumers about FICO, collection companies, banks, credit bureaus. Congress got together and they created the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And in that law, it says if, that's a big if you as a furnisher decide you want to report information to the credit reporting agency, otherwise known as a credit bureau, it must be accurate, verifiable, and timely. Think of it this way. Do you have to have a driver's license? No. There's no law that says you have to go out and get a driver's license. Now, there are laws that say if you're going to drive, you must have a license. But there's nothing saying you have to have a license. There's nothing saying that a furnisher or a bank has to report anything to the credit bureaus. And many banks don't. I don't report to the credit bureaus. I'm a furnisher. People hire me. People owe me millions of dollars for fixing their credit because we finance it. But I don't report. Why? Because it's expensive. I have a company that reports for me. But if I report, it must be accurate, verifiable, and timely. And if it's not, you as a consumer have a legal right to dispute it and have it permanently removed from your credit report. So here's an example of my credit report. I pulled this on July 31st. You can see the date up there. If you look, you'll see my name is Rondi Lambeth. There are seven mistakes on this credit report. And here's my challenge to you. I will give you $100,000 in cash. $100,000 in cash if you can give me your credit report with no mistakes on it. None. But here's the caveat. You have to have an actual credit report with accounts reporting, okay? Can't be like Uncle Dave's that says unknown. Uncle Dave will say he's got a 0 credit score. That's not true. Remember, it's 300, 850. There is no such thing as 0. Remember I said anything he says about credit, don't believe him because he's wrong. I'm going to show you some mistakes. This is my credit report. My name is Rondi Lambeth. Experian says it's Rondi R. Equifax says it's Randy. I'm not a Randy. I'm a Rondi. This is a Wells Fargo account on, I think this was my Corvette. It says I opened it. Yeah, this is a Corvette that had. It said I opened it on March 24th, 2012 on TransUnion, but Experian and Equifax says it was March 1st. Which one is it? What day did I actually open it? Well, I can tell you it was March 24th. So Experian Equifax is wrong. So if I had late payments in here and you hired me to go and fix this, I'm never going to say anything about the late payments. I don't know if you paid your bills on time. Frankly, I don't care. I don't need to dispute the fact that you paid or didn't pay. I'm going to have it removed because they don't even know when you opened it. It says March 1st. The law says it has to be accurate. It's not accurate. Look at account rating. Next line down. One says closed, one says paid. Equifax says it's open. This loan has been paid off since 2017. How can it be open if it was paid off 3 years ago? Look at the next next one down. Account status, closed, open. Again, is it open or is it closed? I know it's open. I mean, I know it's closed. I know it's not open. Next line down, payment amount, zero. How many of you would love to own an $85,000 Corvette race edition with $0 payment? Because that's what TransUnion Experian say my payment is. It says it's 0. But if you look, Equifax knew what the payment was. It was $1,038. Look at this one, last payment. March 29th, 2017 on TransUnion Experian. Look at Equifax. Damn, I paid this mortgage off or this loan off in 9 months. I can guarantee you I didn't pay it off in 9 months. 2012 was the first time after being in business for 5 years that I started making some money. I guarantee that loan was not paid off December 1st, 2012. These are examples of mistakes. Now, there's more mistakes here. If you hired me to fix your credit because you had a repo on here or late payments, unlike the other credit repair companies that will dispute whether you were late or not, I get paid on results, not for trying. I don't get a participation trophy. I get the big freaking trophy for actually succeeding. But here's a little trick. I'm going to let you guys in on a hack or a more advanced tactic. You see where it says auto financing under creditor type? I didn't circle it. There's a line underneath it though. When you buy a car at a dealership, the dealership's the original creditor. By law, it's supposed to say the original creditor on here, which is Bob Stahl Chevrolet in San Diego. Doesn't say Bob Stahl. Also does not show retail installment contract. It says it's an auto loan. It is not an auto loan. I got the loan at the dealership. When you buy a car at the dealership, that is the original creditor. They then sell it to a bank, which is why I always say, if you're going to buy a car new, you always finance with the dealership. So remember, I said this was an $85,000 race car. I paid $62,000. I did not put a down payment down. Why did I get, or I should say, how did I get an $85,000 car 8 years ago for $62,000? Because I financed it. They sold it to Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo gave them around 10 grand. That's how these dealerships, some of them will make money. They make more money from the actual loan than they do by selling the cars. This is a retail installment contract, not an auto loan. So if I was going to work on someone's credit, there's a repo, I'd never say anything about the repo. I'd never say anything about the late payment. I don't care. I would literally dispute the open date, the balance, the close date, whether it's open, whether it's closed, and whether or not it's an auto loan. And then I would threaten them in the letter saying, we're going to sue you if you don't correct this and delete it because it wasn't an auto loan. Why does that matter? Because of how the FICO score models work. Retail installment contracts have a very low impact on your scores. Auto loans, a much higher impact on your credit score. So if you were late on a retail installment contract, which is like getting a couch from RC Willey's, it's not as big of a deal as if you were late on an auto loan. And so it's illegal for them to report it as an auto loan because it's not. That's an example of some mistakes. So let me ask you, would you go to court without an attorney? Good thing he didn't, right? He hired the best in the world, and that's why he's a free man right now. Not saying what he did is right or wrong or if he's innocent or guilty. I'm just using an example. If OJ went and hired an attorney, he'd be in prison right now. See, the Fair Credit Report Act says you have a right to dispute this on your own. I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to taxes, credit, legal issues, you always get a professional to help you. And there's a difference between the types of professionals. My company, for example, only charges on results. The other companies out there, Lexington Law, CreditRepair.com, Sky, Blue Sky, Ovation, my good buddies, the Credit Pros, they charge $79 to $200 a month for trying to fix your credit. Can you imagine if OJ paid these guys to try to fix his issue? See, with us, you don't pay me anything unless I do something. And then when I do it and I'm successful, then we bill you. If I don't get anything deleted from your credit report, you literally pay me nothing, not one single penny. So we're paid on results, not paid for trying. So I'm going to give you a 3-1-1 rule. This is how you can actually have good credit. 3 things here. You need at least 3 open credit cards at all times. At least 3. You can have 5, you can have 7, you can have 10, you can have 20, but you have to have at least 3 open revolving accounts, whether it's Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, Victoria's Secrets, JCPenney's, Walmart, doesn't matter. 3. Then with those 3 cards, you need to spend at least $1 a month every single month. And never go over 10%. Never spend less than 1% or $1. So let me break that down. You got a credit card. It's a $1,000 credit limit. Never spend more than $100. That's 10%. If you do, your score is going to go down every single time. If you look at my Instagram page, you can see back, it was July, I think it was July 28th, July 23rd, somewhere in there. I maxed out my PayPal credit card. I didn't pay it early. I wasn't late, but I didn't pay it by the statement date. So it showed one credit card. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars of available credit. One credit card is like $8,000 or something. That's how I pay my affiliates, is through PayPal. And my credit score dropped by almost 100 points. It was like 88 points because one credit card was maxed out. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars of available credit. One credit card. Because I never max out my cards. At least FICO doesn't know that I max them out because I pay them off early. And so they moved me from an excellent low-risk scorecard to high risk because they looked at it like, bam, he just maxed out a credit card, drop his score. We got to protect our partners, the banks. Now, I paid it off the next day, 30 days early, but it still reported to the bureaus. So this month, I'm going to pull it. And I'm going to show on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube how it increased 88 points by just paying off the PayPal account. The next rule is on cars. If you have a car loan, a student loan, a boat loan, a motorcycle loan, an airplane loan, any type of installment contract is a loan that you make the same amount of payments for a set amount of months. Not a credit card, not a mortgage, a loan, installment loan. If you pay it off early, your score is going to drop. That's just a fact. It's kind of like this. All of us have mothers, obviously. Some of us went full term. Some of us went over the term. Some of us were born premature. If you are a parent, if you're a mother or your father, do you want your pregnant wife to have the baby premature just to get it over with so she doesn't have to go through the problems and the stretch marks and all the pain and the back pain and all that issues? Do you want to go over, or do you want to just go full term and have it when it's due? Do you want to have it when it's due? You don't want to prematurely have the baby. It's the same thing with your car loans. The banks believe in you. You say, I'm going to finance this over 7 years. They put it on their balance sheet as an asset. And then you go and piss them off and you pay it off early because you don't want to pay the bank. That's why you pay it off early. So they fix it. They tell FICO to drop your credit score. It's part of the algorithm. If someone pays a car loan off early, drop their score, punish them, because we need to make up for it later when they get a new car loan. Because they said they were going to go 5 years and they paid it off early. So how can you go and have the benefit of the credit score without paying the interest? It's part of my 3-1-1 rule. You pay the loan down to the number of months remaining times $1. And then you pay $1 a month until the term. So if you got a Ferrari and you financed it for 12 years, and yes, they finance Ferraris for 12 years. You pay it down to $100 and you pay $1 a month for the next 100 months. I do this with all of my vehicles. Done this with my airplane. I've done it with my motorcycle. Anything I finance on a loan, this is what I will do. I have the cash to pay for it. I finance it so I get a cheaper, it's the same vehicle. I just pay less for it. I finance it the following month. I send in a check down to the number of months remaining. And then I pay $1 a month until it's paid off. That's how you beat their system. So 3 credit cards, spend at least $1 a month on each credit card. Don't have to pay interest. but you got to spend $1 because otherwise they kick it out of the formula because they think it's a closed account. Why would they think it's a closed account? It says open. I showed you that Corvette loan. It has been closed for over 3 years. And I did the $1 a month, by the way, for the remaining term on it. But it's been closed, but it still says open. And so if you don't have a balance on your credit cards, they think it's a closed account. So they kick it out of their formula because 90% of your 30% has to do with credit cards. So they kick it out. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. If you guys would like a copy of my book, Credit Hacks, text the word book to 702-500-0555. Again, text the word book. I'm coming out with a new book. It should be out around Christmas time. So if you text in on this, it'll get tagged in my system. I'll automatically send you the next book as well. Absolutely free. If you go to my website, it's like $20 on the website. So if you want a copy of it, I'll email it to you. Text the word book. Just take your picture. Take a picture of this real quick. Text the word book. If you need help with your credit, or if you just like a FICO credit professional to look at it, give you some ideas on how to fix it, how to clean it up, how to increase your score, text the word free to the same number. When you do this, it is an automated system. It's going to say, what's your first and last name? Don't say, Rondi, I'm so excited. Your class was awesome. You're awesome. Nicole's awesome. I love you. Don't write that, because when it responds, it's going to say, congratulations. You're so awesome. I love you. You guys are awesome. Type in your first name and your last name. And then it's going to ask for your email. Type in your email, and then it's going to ask for your phone number, and type in your phone number. I will promise you this. I will not ever call you unless you ask me to. Not one single time. Why? Because I'm not going to do it. 2, it's illegal. And I don't look good in orange. I look great in pink. I got my little orange thing here, but I do not look good in orange. I'm not going to do anything illegal. Okay, so I'll never call you. If you want to follow me on social, here it is. Everywhere at Rondi Lambeth, just like that. Not Randy, Rondi. I post videos every single day on one of these, if not all of them, about credit, taxes, finances, retirement, all that stuff, and sometimes about rants, about stuff. Email there if you want to send me an email. It's rl@fortresscreditpro.com. Website, fortresscreditpro.com. And again, you can reach out on any of these Instagram or any of these social media challenges, any of these social media pages. And you can take a picture of this, and I'd be happy to answer any question you guys have. So with that, I'm done, Nicole. And I think I did it in like 40 minutes. I know you said 20.
No, it's good. You're
So,
good. You're
okay.
good. I'm so happy. Can you hit the stop share so we can just...
Oh, yes. I will happily do that. And I know I said on the thing that if you guys register that I'd try to do some business credit if I had time. I don't have time. So if you follow me on one of the social medias, I'd happily share information on business credit. Because here's the thing, you can get unlimited amounts of money through business credit with no social security number, no credit report. You do it through your business. Okay. Most of the stuff that I own now is through the business. All right, Nicole, what do we got for Q&A?
Okay, so we have a couple things that are coming up here. So first, I saw one for, I think it might have been Jimmy, where he was asking about, he has American Express Platinum.
Okay.
And how are those credited on FICO? Because it's like you're paying it off every month. Like,
it's a charge card. So
it is a charge card.
That is a charge card. The way charge cards work is if you spend $100,000, you owe $100,000. Here's a nice thing with American Express Platinum. You can have a personal account that will show on your personal credit, or you can have a business account, which will not show up on your personal. And this is what I see. 85% of all businesses, 85% do not use business credit. They use personal credit, and they max out their personal credit cards to pay for business expenses, which then destroys their credit score. And then if the business fails, it ruins their personal credit. Instead, use business credit, and if the business fails, you shut it down. There's no bankruptcy required. Most business credit has no personal guarantee. So if you max out American Express card and you did it through business, not with the personal guarantee, you just shut down the company. Not saying you should do that, but if you had to, it prevents you from destroying your personal life, because 90% of businesses are going to fail. So don't use personal credit for business. Use business credit.
Okay, very good. Okay, I have a couple things coming in here. What about paying extra on principal of an auto loan, or what we now know is not considered an auto loan? You called it
retail installment contract.
Retail installment loan, yes. What about paying extra on the principal?
Absolutely, as long as you don't have credit card debt, because credit card debt's probably 20% or higher, and the car loan's probably 20% or less. Mm-hmm. But absolutely, pay extra. Pay extra on it until you get down close to being paying off, and then figure out the $1, $2, $3 a month.
So let's talk about that for a second, because I think there's some confusion. As I'm reading the chat, I sort of see people going, gosh, I only have to pay $1 a month. That's not what he said. What? Do you get what I'm saying, Rondi? They're like, oh, cool. I was like, that's not what he said.
So for example,
explain it. Let's slow it down a little.
You go and you buy a $50,000 car. You got $50,000 in the bank. Instead of paying cash, you finance it. Then you write a check for, let's say, $49,950. So now you owe $50. When you do that, the bank will report that you've made 59 of your 60 required payments. It literally will show up on your credit report. It's a month old and you got 59 payments. Shows the balance at $50. Payment due, 0. And that's why when you look at my credit report and it showed payment due 0, that's because I paid it so far ahead that I was paying $1 a month. And when it showed that I had it paid off in December, that's probably fairly accurate that I had it paid down, not paid off. And so you pay it down as fast as possible, and then you pay $1 a month. Can you say you're debt free? No, because you're not debt free. You owe $50 on an $80,000 car. Could you pay it off? Yes. Do you have to cover it with full coverage? Yes. You'd be an idiot to be driving around with a $50,000, $40,000, whatever car with no insurance on it. So there's really no disadvantage of doing this. There's only advantages, because it really helps your credit score to do this, and it keeps you from paying a bunch of interest. Okay. And I have a ton of videos on YouTube and Instagram on this.
Yeah, and we're asking them to follow your podcast, right? Go look at you on YouTube and to really follow you so they can get some of this information. I know you put a lot of it out there. Okay, so somebody asked, what's a good card to start with to rebuild your credit? There's those deposit cards. There's other companies that are a little more lenient. Where's a good way? Somebody already has bad credit. They have no cards now. Maybe they've been closed out or whatever. What's a good starting point for them?
If they go to fortresscreditpro.com, upper right-hand corner will say credit cards. Click on that. There's 5 credit cards on there, guaranteed approval. They are secured cards, which means you send them a couple $100 and they send you a credit card with a couple $100 credit limit. It is better to have 3 $300 credit limit cards than one $1,000 card. FICO does not care how much your credit limit is. They only care how much you're utilizing. So if you have a $100,000 credit card with a $100,000 balance, they're going to ding your scores. If you got a $1,000 credit card with a $1 balance, it's going to jack up your scores. So I would start with the secured cards. Mm-hmm. If your credit score is good enough to not get the secured cards, you can go to Credit Nerds or creditcards.com. creditkarma.com. Those are websites that sell credit cards. Everybody thinks that Credit Karma is a credit report site. It's not. They sell credit cards.
They sell.
And so only apply for the cards that say excellent chance of being approved. If it doesn't say excellent, get a secured card, because otherwise you're just going to get inquiries. It's just going to hammer away on your scores. And interest rate doesn't matter. Look at the annual fee. Why interest rates don't matter is because you're not going to carry a balance. You're going to get this credit card. You're going to put Netflix on it. You're going to set up bill pay, manage payments, pay off in full every single month on its own, guaranteed no matter what. It is cheaper and better to pay an NSF fee that you can call and get out of than a late fee for 7 years.
Okay. Can I get an account deleted because a credit bureau took over 90 days to respond to my dispute and they list COVID-19 conditions?
Yeah. The credit bureaus have 30 days with a 30-day automatic extension if they ask for it. You can't force someone to follow the law. Only the courts can punish someone for breaking the law. Think about it. The cops can't force me to drive the speed limit. But if I get caught, I'm going to pay a price. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with these banks and credit bureaus. It is so expensive for them to follow the law that they just break the law because they can make billions, with a B, billions of dollars by breaking the law, and they'll pay millions of dollars in fines. It's just the cost of doing business. Mm. So yes, you can get it deleted if you know how. You might have to take them to court, which is, that's when I come in as a credit expert witness and explain credit reports and stuff. Great question.
Very good. I keep seeing this come up. Explain the FICO 10 model. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, so FICO 10 is their newest model. Think of it this way. Microsoft. What was it? Microsoft, remember Microsoft 95, Microsoft 98, Microsoft Millennial or whatever, right? Here's the thing. When you look at your mortgage credit report, remember there's different types of scores. There's mortgage scores, car loan scores, credit card scores, and then you got the scorecards on top of that, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of different versions. If you look at a credit report, they're using FICO Model 2. Nicole, it was developed in 1996.
Wow.
They are using a software that's 24 years old. Can you imagine using Windows 95? Why? Why are they using a 24-year-old software? Because the federal government says if you're going to issue mortgages through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and we're going to buy them, we want the lowest possible credit score that we can get so we can charge the highest amount of interest. And if you compare a FICO Model 2 from 1996 and a FICO Model 10, you are going to see a 50 to 100 point difference. So the difference between FICO Model 2 and FICO Model 10 has to do with the software and how it works. Still FICO, but back in 1996, you didn't go to quickenloans.com and apply for a mortgage and they pull your credit 100 times. Mm-hmm. Now it's just normal. And so that's some of the differences between 10 and 2. Also, they will be coming out with a new model soon, if they haven't already done it, for COVID. Because how it's impacting people's credit score now is different than a year ago. And so they were literally manipulated to make it more fair if we had issues. Okay.
Wow. Okay. So we got some good ones here. How about this one? This is a business one related. I know you didn't get a chance to get into it, but it's one of the questions here. How do you pay a PAYDEX score on a new business without a personal guarantee?
Well, you don't pay for a PAYDEX score. PAYDEX score is the score that Dun & Bradstreet, the largest business credit reporting agency out there, they will issue you a PAYDEX score. The PAYDEX score of an 80, you can get an 80 PAYDEX score in about 90 days. That's the equivalent of an 800 FICO score, which will take you 9 to 10 years to get. That's the advantage of business credit. 90 days versus 10 years.
Wow.
So in order to get a PAYDEX score, you have to have at least 3 accounts reporting over a 3-month period. So it's got to have technically 9 report dates or 9 reports. So if you got 3 credit cards, they report, I don't know, August, September, October. By November, you'd have an 80 PAYDEX or an equivalent of an 800 FICO.
Okay. What is your position on consolidating cards or filing for bankruptcy? We have some people that take advantage of consolidating, and they make this one payment, which I think, as I understand it, gets into a trust and then they pay. But a lot of times people, if there's already issues, with a rhythm and a payment and then a discipline, if I will, and they don't honor it, it just seems like it's very convoluted. What are your thoughts on people that are trying to consolidate or potentially looking to file bankruptcy?
Here's something I learned. I actually went through law school. I never decided to do that route because there's not enough money in it. But here's what I learned. You always say, it depends. So it depends. I am a fan of bankruptcy. I talked to someone a few days ago and I said, you got to file bankruptcy. He's got $100,000. They called me. They wanted me to help them with their credit card debt because we wipe out credit card debt through our program, completely eliminate it. We eliminate student loan debt, private student loan debt. And last year we eliminated $50 million of student loans and credit cards. And I told this person, I said, look, don't even go through my program. going to cost you 45 grand. Just pay the $2,500 and file bankruptcy on your $100,000 in credit cards. Yesterday I talked to, no, it's this morning. I'm sorry. It was this morning I talked to a lady. She had like $30,000 in credit cards. I'm like, do not file bankruptcy over $30,000. It'd been years since she made a payment. They're not going to sue her. Don't file. So it really depends. Now, as far as consolidating debt, I am not a fan of consolidating debt. I really am not, because what I see is they consolidate it. They do a home equity line of credit. Next thing you know, they got an extra $500. Hey, let's get a new car. Let's go get a new four-wheeler or side-by-side. Let's go on vacation. And I see that over and over again. I'm seeing that right now. We have 20 million tenants in America right now not paying rent. And yet, most of them have been getting $900 a week in unemployment, and they probably don't make that much. I have a friend in Vegas that owns a whole bunch of rentals. And him and I were talking. He's like, yeah, my people aren't paying, so I was going to evict them anyway, even though there's a moratorium. And he's like, there's 4 roommates getting $900 a month. They only make $300-400 a week anyway, because they're college kids. And yet they're getting $900 a month or a week, and they're not paying rent. So we got 20 million people not paying rent.
Wow.
Because they're spending it. So on consolidating debt, I don't agree with it. There are some companies out there that'll work it out. But my thing is, do the snowball approach, get the lowest credit card, pay it off. If you need to sell your big screen TV, your Xbox, your PlayStation, then do that. Get some extra work, get an extra job, go get baseball cards, start doing the Gary V thing, doing the yard sale, go start a business, go get involved with another business and pay it off. Don't do the consolidation thing.
Okay, what are people's options if they had some cards that got closed for missed payments? It's been a while. It's on the report. What can they do to try to clean that up and start over again?
Yeah, they can reach out to me. Again, I recommend you hire a professional to do this. If you're going to do it on your own, then go ahead and do it on your own. You can try to get through the 300 pages of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And then if you live in California, they have their own Credit Reporting Act. Then you got FACTA, which is Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act, and then Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And you got dozens and dozens and dozens of laws that you're going to have to fill up and figure out. If I took all my law books, it would literally fill this studio back all the way across. So if you're going to figure it out and you're going to do that, then figure out how to dispute it. Otherwise, hire a professional to do it. Can that be done? Absolutely. We can delete bankruptcies, foreclosures, tax liens, judgments, short sales, repos, charge-offs, which is what they have, collections. Doesn't matter what it is. It's like this jacket. I can put it on. I can take it off. Same thing with credit report.
For something like that, what would someone expect to pay if you were helping them out? Let's say they had whatever.
It's $125 per account per bureau. So if it's collections, $125. If it's bankruptcy, $125. If you got a credit card with 20 late payments and we delete 19 of them, it's $0. If we delete all 20, it's $125.
Got it.
And you only pay if we delete it. If we don't delete it, you don't pay.
Did you hear that? That's huge.
You only pay.
I'm sure many of you would like. I would have overcomplicated that. So you basically you're a man of your word. You get paid off of results. If you don't get the job done, your clients don't pay.
Correct. Not
pretty phenomenal, you guys, because a lot of folks are participating in things that they're just sort of hoping work out, right? Like, and their long-term thing, like that blows my mind, Rondi. Okay, we're nearing 7 o'clock. We've got 3 minutes left. I'm going to do just a couple more of these. Okay, what has Bethany got?
What is your best site to get your score at? I don't know if somebody will know that one.
Oh, yeah, I did see that one. What was the best site to get your score at? But he listed the 3 and just sort of explained it, so I wasn't sure. But let's ask that.
I'm going to do a shameless plug for mine. CreditMojo.com. It's my company. CreditMojo.com. CreditMojo.com. Now, you can go to Credit Karma. It's not a real score. You can go to myfico.com. It's a FICO score. It's a FICO 10 score, a FICO 8 score. It really doesn't matter. But my company is CreditMojo.com. There's a million of them out there.
Okay.
And then, is it true that every time you check your score, you lower your credit?
Oh, is it true that every time your credit gets checked, or it's not checked, it's an inquiry? Is that right? Every time there's an inquiry, it lowers your score?
No. 90% of all inquiries are completely ignored. 90%
Wow.
has to more do with what scorecard you're in. So if you have collections and late payments and maxed out credit cards, or even maxed out credit cards and you're applying for credit, you're going to see a large impact because of that scorecard. If I went in with an 800 credit score and haven't been late that they know of for 30 plus years, as they know of, because I fixed it, right? And I had an inquiry, it's not going to impact my score at all. Not 1 point. So it just depends on the scorecard.
Okay, so let me see one more thing. How do we access our scorecard? Or how do you find out what scorecard you're on? I think though
you're not. That's like asking, great question. It's like asking Coke for the formula.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. At the start of COVID, I was notified that my daycare where my daughter was going to close. And I had no other choice but to stay home and take care of my daughter full time. So if someone's got a hardship because of COVID right now, this is great actually. If someone has a hardship right now, what are some of the things that they could be doing to either protect themselves or start to be prepared for, I'm sure, they're just taking on there's probably a lot of people that just aren't paying stuff because they've got this kind of a situation. What can they start doing to kind of gear up?
Yeah. If you have to make a choice on who's going to get paid and who's not, you always pay where you live first. And then you pay your car, because without the car, you can't go to work. And then you pay the lowest credit cards as you can. So if you had a choice, that's the order. And if you got a bunch of credit cards, then you start with the lowest ones, the ones that are $15 a month versus just saying, forget it, I'm not going to pay anything.
Pay any of it. That's really good.
Just
thank you for that.
Do your best on that. Here's what's happening. Trump changed the Fair Credit Report Act. It changes all the time, by the way, but he changed it on March 26th, said from March 26th to July 15th, banks could not report you late, even though they're not allowed to. They're going to change it again. And I suspect probably until the end of the year. So you have till the end of the year really to catch up. Now, they haven't changed that yet, but I suspect they will. If you do get behind, just know this is not a life sentence. Remember, my little brother killed himself because he thought this was the end. He was going to have bad credit forever. It's not a life sentence. Credit, it's important, but it's not that important that you end your life over it or you get stressed out about it, because you can clean it up regardless what's on there. 50% of the people that hire me can qualify for a mortgage in 90 days or less. 90% of the clients that hire me can qualify for a mortgage in 6 months or less. So if you get behind, don't get super depressed over it. Do your best to pay it. And when you catch up, reach out to me or someone else and get them to clean it up, because it's a temporary, maybe it's 2 years. It's not going to be a 10-year sentence.
Okay. This is so good. All right, you guys, I'm going to put up here one more time all our Instagram stuff so you guys can follow us. And I want to give you a call of action. Okay, so some of you are agents, some of you are guests. If you've not received your dream map, which comes free from the person who invited you on here, I highly recommend you get that, because it takes sort of a snapshot of where you are financially. And we can address things obviously like credit. I highly recommend that you get that done. We can see where you're at, certainly, and help you get you ready to sit down with somebody like Rondi, but you don't need us for that. I'm just saying this is a really important piece, because sometimes we're only addressing one thing and there's multiple gaps in your foundation, right? We want to bridge all those gaps, your insurances, your retirement accounts, all that is for free in something called a dream map that our agents can do for you. So whoever invited you, sit with them, sit down. It's free. Let's take a real look. Be serious about what it is you're doing. I really want to stress to you guys the idea that you could sit down and have a professional like Rondi and his team who have already figured all this stuff out for $125 per account. You're out of your mind not to take advantage of that. That, Rondi, my mind is blown on that, because in my head, I think like most things, we just overthink it and think there's these like gigantic numbers and you guarantee your work. I would challenge that there's no better guarantee than that. So if you're sitting on this call, I'm seeing some of the questions still go up going, I'm trying to clean up. I'm trying to do that. Don't. Give your business to this man who can take care of it and guarantees his work. That is just, Rondi, amazing.
Here's the thing. I didn't say this. We actually finance it. So let's say you got 10 items and it's $1,200, I'm going to finance that over 4 years, and it's going to be $23 a month.
Wow.
So I fix it up front, and then you pay for it later. And it reports to all 3 bureaus, which then increases your scores. So we make it affordable for anybody.
I'm like at a loss for words for what you're telling us right now. So a couple things. Follow him. Make sure you send his information. If somebody wasn't on this call and you're like, my sister's struggling, my mom is struggling, like you need to get his information over to them too. Because I know right now with so many people having interruptions, even the little things that he's saying is like, pay the ones that you can. If you can't pay those, the order that he's giving, all this stuff is huge and game changing for people if you'll just share it. I think it's very interesting now people, when it comes to the matters of money, everyone sort of clams up and acts like everything's okay until things just really start to break. And it's not necessary. Rondi got on this call out of the kindness of his heart because he is a man of contribution and gave you guys just phenomenal information, instruction, help, guidance. My goodness, he's even going to be able to finance if you need to get your stuff cleaned up. This could save you so much money. It is astronomical. So Rondi, again, brother, we thank you so much for being here with us and sharing all this information with us, you guys. So I'm going to close it out now. Again, follow him. You saw his information. If you need to check your credit score, go to his site, which was, say it again, creditmojo.com?
Creditmojo.com.
Creditmojo.com. Okay, all right, you
I
guys.
see all these questions. There's hundreds and hundreds of questions. Follow me on Instagram. Just start sending the DMs, and I'll spend all night long answering them.
You guys,
You
bring
know.
him your business. Bring him your business and tell other people so they can bring their business to him too. This is an incredible man. Brother, we thank you so much. Thank you so much, you guys. We're out. Good night. Thank you.
Bye.